Today I'm going to review Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 8, Reunion. Then I'm going to go over the questions, why does Crosshair go to Bracca, and who is Cad Bane? And then I'll rehash the question, what is Clone Force 99's mission? I'm Nate, this is my YouTube channel. If you like the content in today's video, make sure to hit the like button or subscribe. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, be aware. Episode 8 was released on June 18th, 2021 on Disney+. In this episode, Crosshair and his squad are sent to Bracca to exterminate the Bad Batch, while Hunter and the guys look for weapons and parts that they can sell on the black market to make some money. When Crosshair shows up, Bad Batch must find their way out of the Jedi cruiser as Crosshair sets traps for them along the way. Things get worse when the Kaminoans intervene to get Omega before the Empire kills her. Again, voice actors D. Bradley Baker and Michelle Ang continue their roles as Bad Batch and Omega. The episode was directed by Stuart Lee, who's directed 4 episodes of Bad Batch so far, 23 episodes of Clone Wars, 19 episodes of Resistance, and 15 episodes of Rebels. The script is written by Christian Taylor, who won an Emmy writing for 6 Feet Under on HBO, and he wrote and produced for ABC's Miracles and J.J. Abrams' Lost. He was a head writer for the Clone Wars, where he wrote 15 episodes. As I stated in my review of the last episode, the midpoint of a Hollywood story usually ends on a high note, which for this season was a surgical removal of Bad Batch's inhibitor chips. The first thing that happens after the midpoint high is for things to immediately go downhill. Something bad happens that changes the game and possibly ups the stakes for the hero or the heroes. And this episode has a lot of things that go sour for Bad Batch and changes the game. The episode starts off on Kamino as Crosshair reports to Admiral Rampart that Bad Batch is on Bracca. But Rampart doesn't care too much about a band of rogue clones. He tells Crosshair to terminate them. Lama Su makes a pitch to bring Bad Batch in alive, a move which is clearly driven by the Kaminoans' desire to design a Generation 3 clone with Omega, but Rampart isn't having it. On Bracca, Wrecker teaches Omega how to defuse a bomb. The bomb itself turns out to be a smoke bomb and a lesson on maintaining your cool under pressure for Omega. Echo shows up and they spot a couple scrappers watching them. The trio takes the scrappers out so they don't notify the Empire, even though we already know they have. On the Jedi cruiser, Bad Batch has a discussion about what to do next. Echo wants to leave, but Hunter wants to do some scrapping because they need money. They decide to break into the ship's armory. The armory is full of weapons and munitions they can sell in the black market. Tech then goes to the bridge to rip the central computer's data. Hunter and Echo have a conversation about what they are doing. They're soldiers and aren't doing soldier stuff at the moment. This conversation is part of the major theme of the episode, which is what soldiers do after war. Tech calls for Omega to help him, and she heads to the bridge. Once she arrives, Tech tells her he has the data files from the central computer, but not the master drive. He asks her to tap into the master drive. Omega then asks Tech about what the Clone Wars are like. Rather than give her a peek into his experience in the Clone Wars, he gives her a definition, because it's in his character to be literal. Then Crosshair and his team show up. Bad Batch grab their spoils and try to make it out of the ship, but Crosshair outsmarts them and corners Bad Batch on the artillery deck. Back on Kamino, Lama Su talks with Nayla Se about how they will get Omega back. He has another bounty hunter on the job. Nayla Se is concerned. Lama Su chides Nayla Se about her level of familiarity with Omega. He tells Nayla Se that once Omega is retrieved and the biomaterial has been extracted, to terminate Omega. On Bracca, Crosshair calls Bad Batch a bunch of scavenging rats. Hunter then asks Crosshair why he came after them. Crosshair says they are traitors. Tech and Echo activate a cannon and fire it, which brings the deck down. In the chaos, Bad Batch is able to escape, and Crosshair gets knocked out after taking a hit. Bad Batch then make their way through one of the ship's ion engine chambers. Crosshair exits the ship to catch Bad Batch on their way out. When he finds them trying to get out of the ion chamber, he has one of his troopers start the ion engine in an effort to get Bad Batch to either come out into the open where his troops will take them out, or incinerate them alive. Bad Batch then comes up with a plan to blast the chamber cylinder off the core. It succeeds, but Hunter and Omega are separated from Echo, Tech, and Wrecker. With the cylinder gone, the engine blast is no longer focused and it injures Crosshair and his team. Meanwhile, the troopers who found the Havoc Marauder have been killed. Hunter and Omega happen upon the bounty hunter Cad Bane, who is clearly the bounty hunter hired by Lama Su. Hunter attempts to take Bane on, but loses the shootout. Cad Bane then stuns Omega and leaves. Crosshair is given medical treatment and brought on board his ship. The rest of Bad Batch find Hunter and save him in the middle of a shootout with Crosshair's remaining troopers. Hunter then states that Omega was taken by a bounty hunter and they need to get her back. As far as the creative elements are concerned, this episode had a lot more action in it than the previous episode, and one thing that I noticed in this episode more than any of the other episodes is the audio. I've noted before that the series and the Clone Wars before it visually stand out from typical animation with its 3D visuals that look more like live action. The same can be said about its audio. For example, when the bomb charges explode, the production staff does the same thing that action movies do, which is bring the sound down to nothing, then insert the sound of the explosion. Another finer point of production in this episode is how they show blast marks. Laser blasts make a mark and we can see the impact area because of the hot metal melting, but then the spot cools down. We also get more Western style imagery, especially with the entrance of the bounty hunter Cad Bane. Bane is straight up a Western movie villain with his full brimmed hat, ammo belt, dual hip holsters, dark outfit, and twangy theme music. He's competent, seedy, and he evokes a fear in us that things aren't going to go well for our heroes. The last element I'll note here is the use of the first-person shooter POV that we get at the end with Hunter. I've heard a few things online that this may be a nod to the video game Republic Commando. This is most likely the case, but as with any Star Wars Easter egg, its meaning can range anywhere from a simple nod to a foreshadow of something from the game. As far as the character development is concerned, this episode mainly belonged to Crosshair. He's making the major decisions that push Bad Batch to make their decisions, and Bad Batch is throwing wrenches in his plans every step of the way. I found myself at certain points rooting for Crosshair, much like I was rooting for Wrecker in the last episode. I wanted Crosshair to find the Bad Batch so they could have the chance to save him, but when he finally did find them, he dove deeper into the twisted mindset that his inhibitor chip was controlling him to be. In the beginning, he's confident and in charge. At the end, he's still confident, but he's beat up and frazzled, which leaves us wanting to know what's going to happen with him. With Rampart and Tarkin disliking clones so much, it's possible that his days with the Empire are numbered. We also see Omega develop in this episode. She has interactions with both Wrecker and Tech that show her struggling to learn and also learning new things. This makes her character extremely likable, and I think that it's going to bring her to a point where she will make the final push to reconcile the Jedi with the clones. The main theme I saw in this episode was the struggle that soldiers have after war. Omega asks Tech what the war was like, and he responds with a mechanical answer. We know what she's really getting at, though. She wants to know what the experience of the war was like. This is a question that people often have for soldiers, and it can be hard to adequately explain. Life after war is confusing. Hunter said it right in episode 6 when he told Rafa Martez that life was easier when they were just soldiers. You've got a clear enemy, a mission, a common end state you are trying to achieve, and individual tasks you are responsible for. And those tasks, if done, will contribute to the safety of the unit and the overall mission. When soldiers return home, it's often difficult to reintegrate into a life in which there may not be a clear enemy, or the enemy was once their friend. War also develops friendships and a brotherhood that you don't get back home. With death circling above like a pack of vultures, it's easy to overlook differences between each other in order to develop the bonds of brotherhood needed to survive. We can see this with Bad Batch and how they interact. Omega is being initiated into this environment as well, though she may not know it fully. My bet is that she is starting to feel that bond by the mere fact that she's curious about the experience of war. She could possibly be wondering if the Clone Wars were anything like what she is currently experiencing. With Crosshair, we see a soldier who can't give up the military life because it's all he has. Also, Crosshair can't give it up because of his chip. In real life, there are soldiers who can't give it up because that life is all they know, and it's much more comfortable than the ambiguity of the world they have returned back home to. As far as the questions we've been asking each episode, the first one, will Clone Force 99 fix their inhibitor chips, was answered in the last episode. The next one, will Clone Force 99 get back Crosshair and fix his inhibitor chip? Crosshair is clearly being controlled by his chip, but we see him take a couple hits that leave him wounded and frazzled at the end of the episode. He's clearly not in good shape. Something we also see here is the relationship between Bad Batch and Crosshair growing farther apart. They try to tell him about his chip, but Crosshair is on a mission to kill them, and that's all that matters. There's damage done because of Crosshair's actions to terminate Bad Batch, and I don't think it's something he can recover from if he continues down this road. I'm starting to think his arc isn't going to end well. Either he's going to go down at the hand of Bad Batch because of his chip, or with his current physical condition and the Empire disliking the clones, I'm wondering if Tarkin and Rampart might try to dispose of him for lack of usefulness. If they do and Crosshair escapes, I wonder what would happen to him if he's still controlled by his chip, but rejected by his chain of command. There is still a chance to save him though. I don't think Crosshair is going to willfully let the Empire terminate him. He will fight. I think once he's out from under the grip of the Empire, he'll be internally torn because of his chip. He won't be able to function in terms of his own needs because he'll be tied to Order 66. He won't be able to do any jobs to make money because he's not getting orders from the proper chain of command. There is a path for redemption with Crosshair though, but it's getting narrower as time goes on. Bad Batch needs to intervene soon or I think Crosshair is doomed. But as we see at the end of the episode, Bad Batch also has a problem with keeping Omega safe and putting food on their own table. As far as Clone Force 99 saving their brothers and reconciling their relationship with the Jedi, those weren't discussed in this episode. So the first question that we had up top was, why does Crosshair go to Bracca? It's a question that is brought up by Hunter when they face each other on the artillery deck. Crosshair calls them rats, and Hunter responds by asking why he came after them. Crosshair simply states they are traitors. But this doesn't answer the question. Hunter asked why bother if they are just rats. I think there are two possible reasons why Crosshair came after them. One, underneath the influence of his chip is Crosshair's desire to reunite with the Bad Batch. We see this in episode 3 when he returns to Kamino and enters the old Bad Batch bunk room. The second reason is that the influence of his chip is causing him to not let go of the fact that a Jedi escaped Order 66 at the hand of his squad. My personal belief is the first reason. I think that Crosshair wants to reunite with his brothers, but he's been inhibited. Our next question is, who is Cad Bane? Cad Bane is a bounty hunter who was first introduced in Season 1 of the Clone Wars. Early in his career, he was briefly mentored by Jango Fett. After Jango's death in the Battle of Geonosis, Cad became the most skilled bounty hunter in the galaxy and was often hired by Sith Lords, wealthy gangsters, and anyone with a lot of money. Darth Sidious was a frequent client, once hiring Bane to infiltrate the Jedi Temple to obtain a list of all the Force-sensitive children in the galaxy. Jabba the Hutt hired Bane to rescue his uncle Zero the Hutt from a Republic prison. Bane is a skilled warrior who often went head-to-head with a Jedi and could hold his own. He fought with a pair of stolen Mandalorian vambraces, which are pieces of armor that cover the wrist. They are fitted with several weapons that counteract the Force abilities of the Jedi. He also had a pair of jet boots and used 2 LL-30 blaster pistols. The breathing tubes on his cheeks are designed to counter the effects of a Force choke, something he probably encountered often when working with the Sith. Overall, I thought this episode was gut-wrenching. The theme of what soldiers do after war hit home for me, and watching Omega get kidnapped was sad. At this point in the season, though, the storyline had to take a turn for the worse, and it accomplished that in a major way. That's all I have for today. If you like the content in today's video, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe. Thanks for watching.